Have you ever just felt stuck? You know, like you're running in place, hitting the same walls, repeating the same old patterns over and over again? Well, what if the key to unlocking a totally different life wasn't about adding some new goal, but about changing something way deeper inside? Okay, let's really get into this. I want you to just let that sink in for a second. This is the core idea that can literally change everything. It's not about your hopes, your dreams, or what's on your vision board. It's about the absolute rock bottom minimum you demand from yourself. So why do we get stuck in these loops, right? Why do we get so close to a goal and then somehow slide right back to where we started? Why do some bad habits feel absolutely impossible to break? The answer, pretty much every time, comes down to the standard you're willing to tolerate. To really get this, we've got to talk about something I call the invisible line. See, it's this unseen force in your life, this hidden tripwire that is quietly and powerfully determining almost all of your results. Think about it like this. Your life has an invisible thermostat. It sets the temperature for what you will and won't accept. Sure, you might have a huge win and things heat up for a bit, or a major setback where things get pretty cold, but you will always, eventually, snap right back to your default setting. The real key isn't to just temporarily change the temperature, it's to completely reset the entire thermostat. And this is such a critical distinction to make. Wishes, they're totally passive. They're like clouds just passing by. They're nice to look at, but they have zero substance. Standards, on the other hand, they are the very foundation of your life. They aren't what you hope for, they're what you absolutely demand from yourself. They are completely non-negotiable. And that leads us to probably the most important shift in thinking in this whole conversation. See, we all talk about goals, right? But standards, they operate on a totally different level. It's a fundamental move from what you chase to who you become. A goal is something you pursue. It's an item you want to check off a list. It's all about raising the ceiling of what's possible for you. But a standard is about who you are. It's about what you embody day in and day out. A standard raises the floor, and when you raise the floor, your old way of life becomes completely and totally unacceptable. So, if we boil it all down, here's what it is. A standard is simply the minimum you're willing to accept from yourself. That's it. It's the line in the sand you just will not cross. It's the new baseline that all of your actions and decisions grow from. Let's look at how this actually plays out. A goal sounds like, I want to lose weight. But a standard sounds like, I am a person who is healthy. Can you feel the difference there? One is a wish, something you're chasing. The other is an identity. It's not about what you want, it's about who you already are. And honestly, that shift is everything.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you make this real? Well, let's break it down with a really simple 4-step framework for raising the floor of your life.
Step 1, you have to get brutally honest and decide what you will no longer tolerate. Period. Step 2, you define with crystal clarity what your new standard is, what you now demand. Step 3, you got to dig up those old limiting beliefs that are holding you back and consciously replace them. And then step 4, and this one is the game changer, you must take immediate action. So why is that last step so critical? Because action is the proof. It's the evidence you give your brain that says, hey, listen up, something's actually changed. It's what rewires your identity. A declaration is just words, right? But an action, no matter how tiny, starts to build momentum and makes that new standard real. Now, I've got to be real with you. When you raise your standards, it is not going to feel comfortable. In fact, if it feels comfortable, you're probably not aiming high enough. That feeling of discomfort, that's the feeling of your life actually changing for the better. And this is a quote you have to burn into your mind. The real failure isn't falling short of the standard. We all do that. The real failure is giving up and lowering the standard to make yourself feel better. When you fall short, you've got a choice. Lower the bar or raise your effort. So that gap, the space between where you are right now and where your new standard is, that's not failure, not at all. It's feedback. It's literally a roadmap showing you exactly where you need to build new skills, create new habits, and focus your energy. Let me tell you a quick but really powerful story. There was a woman who'd been trying to lose weight for decades. She tried every diet, every single program out there. Nothing ever stuck. Her standard was basically just a wish. I want to lose weight. Then one day, after a pretty serious health scare, she just made a decision, a fundamental shift. Her standard changed. It was no longer a goal she was chasing. It became an identity she was living. It became, I am a person who honors her body. And from that moment on, every single decision, what to eat, when to move, was filtered through that new identity. And the result? She lost over 100 pounds. But honestly, it was so much more than that. She gained this incredible vitality, a new confidence, this sense of her own power. The weight loss wasn't even the real achievement. It was just the natural byproduct of her new, non-negotiable standard.
So as we start to wrap this up, let's be super clear about what this all means for you. This is not about chasing some impossible, perfect ideal. It's about committing to consistent progress.
A question I get all the time is, but wait, isn't this just a recipe for anxiety? Isn't this just perfectionism in disguise? And that is a great question, but the answer is a hard no, as long as you understand the difference. See, perfectionism demands that you're flawless, and that just creates anxiety. It ties your self-worth to a single achievement. But high standards, they demand consistent growth, and that creates momentum. Your satisfaction comes from the progress itself, from the journey of just becoming a little better than you were yesterday. And when you really commit to this, something incredible starts to happen. It's not just one little area of your life that changes. It's a ripple effect. Your habits change. Your energy changes. Your confidence. Your relationships. Your results. They all change. Your entire life begins to rise up to meet the new standard you've set for yourself. So this brings us right here to the final and, frankly, the most important question. Looking at your life right now with total honesty, what is the one standard that you are ready to raise starting this very day?
Because that decision, that internal commitment to say no more to what you've been tolerating, it costs you absolutely nothing to make, but it has the power to change everything. All that potential is just sitting there, waiting for you. The time is now.